republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, need a motion on the work session minutes for July the 18th.
Move to adopt.
Have votes to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
I didn't get, who was that? Who made the motion?
3.
Unanimous.
Need a motion on the regular council minutes for the July 18th meeting.
Move to adopt.
A motion to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Mr. Mayor, you up?
Well, thank you so much. I know that we all have got to hit the ground running here pretty quickly to make National Night Out. We're fortunate in that normally in August we'd be really sweating, but the humidity's down, so hopefully it'll be a big crowd and we'll have an opportunity to shake a lot of hands and thank a lot of folks for what they're doing. So in the spirit of trying to get all of us out here early, and we've made the decision to present to you this evening our proposed budget. It's actually by statute due on before the August 20th or before, but a lot of sentiment to get it as early as possible. And I just want to give a great thanks to our financial staff, the budget staff that worked really, really hard. They didn't do it in a vacuum. All of our budget managers, our managers, and certainly our cabinet members, led by Barry Crabb, have done a really good job to get us to where we need to be to present to you this budget. I've got a short presentation of just the highlights if you want to follow along. This shows the chart that we look at with regularity as we go through the year. On the far, in the center, you'll see the 2017 budget for revenues, expenditures, and then the increase in reserves, and that's the amount of money that we would put into our reserves. If you then go to the right-hand side, you'll see what we are with 3 months left when we did this, what we're projecting to be the case, and it won't be far off from this. And so having seen that, you'll see that we're going to be about $1.2 million over in revenues. You see that we're going to be about $800,000 under in expenses, but that 2.2 line gets added to the expense because these are prior year internal service fund, and that will wipe out over a 3 or 4 year period. We've been wiping out the internal service fund. These are differences between what health care costs and what some of the other things. What you see on the right-hand side and the center and the left-hand side, we are budgeting $1 million to reserves because when we close the book, it'll be over that $1,794,000. It'll be a minimum of $2 million, which will go into our reserves. It will take us to $25 million. I'll remind you that when we started this March, we were about $3 million. Our near-term target was to get 10% of our operating revenue. This is slightly over 10% at $242 and $25 million. That is the minimum that we can have. Our next target would be $15 million, and hopefully we'll have more than the $1 million in the 18 budget, but at least we are budgeting to put $1 million in. If you could go to the next slide, please. Just to remind us of 2017, just the very highlights. 4.5 years of lodging tax being number 1 in the state. We just opened a hotel last week, I guess it was. We've got right at 7,000 hotel rooms that we measure. Today we have 2 hotels under construction. We have 1 ready to announce, and we have 2 in negotiations. All of those will bring us another 600 to 700 rooms that will take us closer to the magic number of over 1,000 downtown. One of the great technology things that started a couple of years ago because of our partnership with the city and the county, with Lualachi and the information technology, joining with the chamber and certainly with the Air Force, the military, this internet exchange, or as we call MIX, has really got legs and is taking off. We are right in the final throes. In the next week or so, we will complete the installation of a 100 gigabit switch, which will be as fast and as efficient as anything out there. Give people that are in Atlanta, Dallas, and other areas certainly a backup alternative and maybe even a primary alternative here. 20 plus peering partners and content providers are there. This has led us to a household name in the technology sector to work with us on what's being called Smart City, Smart Base, City Next, any of those areas, and that will be driving us, and we put some money into the budget that you'll see in a minute to move that forward. We've been claiming the sports capital of Alabama. Certainly we've got so many activities, particularly our relationship with the Alabama High School Athletic Association, our ESPN partnership, our Raycom partnership, and certainly the Sports Commission. Remind you that on Saturday, the 26th of August, we'll have the first kickoff classic televised from Crampton Bowl by ESPN. Will be the first football game of this year. Will be Jacksonville as well, and playing Chattanooga, Tennessee. They have fan base that will be coming, and we think that will have about the same economic impact as the Alabama High School Athletic Association. A couple of weeks ago, we had almost 8,000 people in Montgomery, Alabama for about 5 or 6 days. That's going to have something in the $10 million range of goods and services. We reclaimed this quarter #1 in the Business Confidence Index of all the cities, the major cities. We are #1, and we've been #1 19 of the last 27 quarters. And I'll remind you that a tribute to our employees, we were identified as the best run city in Alabama. If you'll go to the next slide. Let's talk about some of the highlights that are in the 2018 budget. Obviously, you have in front of you the detailed budget along with a fairly detailed budget message, and you can peruse that as your leisure or bedtime reading. And we'll have a chance to have public hearing as well as have meetings at the council's call. But overall, the increase is a pretty modest 2%. Most of the pundits, I should say, are saying that for the next little bit of time, we're looking at a 2% increase in the overall economy, and we didn't drive it that way. That's kind of how it did, in fact, turn out. It does include in the budget at $242 million merit increases for deserving employees. This will be the first time in 3 years that we've had merit increases. Now, we've had the structure change where more money went into people's pocket over the last 3 years, but now this is on top of that, and frankly, this is to those deserving employees. There's a $2.5 million or so, maybe it's 2.2, that's in for public safety. Our target goal is 515 for police and 425 for fire. We're not at those levels today. We've got 2 classes in process, and one maybe at fire, starting to have another. When we get those out, we'll be in a better position to be able to claim those numbers, and then the challenge is to keep those numbers and even to grow those. Public safety and expenditures is $2.8 million, includes property for a new fire station at the Atlanta Highway and Chantilly corridor. We are actually purchasing that. I think the contract, the agreement has been done. I don't know that we've actually signed the purchase agreement. But that's going to be an area that we will build a new fire station that will cover the Atlanta Highway area, Chantilly area, and also the technology park that the county owns today, but under a certain agreement with Jihardi, some of those properties will be coming into the city at the completion of that project that we announced a number of months ago. You started this a year or so ago, insisting that we put more money into distressed properties and dilapidation. The budget actually shows about $75,000. We found you another 150 or so. We will take down in 2017 fiscal year 160 structures. We think that with the increase that we're proposing to $400,000, we'll be able to get 250 structures, and frankly, that brings us to all of those that we've identified and we have authority to get down. Now, the next phase that we talked a bit about at the work session is starting a process of identification and preparation to either to dispose of them or to do as we've done, whether it be through sales or whether through working with the CDCs or other charitable organizations that have frankly approached us to secure a large number for housing. Next slide, please. That also includes money that will be joint with the county for, and I underline the word potential, F-35 bed down. It's a fairly big number to do some security fencing. That was one of the areas that we did not score well. We've agreed to do that, and that agreement had to be funded so that we would get credit for that in the evaluation process. So that is there. We're also partnering with the county for a new parking infrastructure, the parking deck that's across from the county. We will actually move 25 Washington employees over there, and 25 Washington deck will become available for what its original intent was, is to help parking for what is happening on Dexter Avenue. You have seen the Crest building is ready for a move-in. They've got a large number moving in over the next week or so, as well as the Foshee property is completely leased up. Parking will be there as well. We have been working through youth initiatives over the last several months to find those areas where we really need to go into because of the Boys and Girls Club at the Ridgecrest area. We were in a position, is it Ridgecrest? Regency Park. It's Regency Park, I'm sorry. Regency Park with Church of the Highlands and old Boys and Girls facility there. We have staff there. The Gunner, Congressman Dickinson Boulevard, the new pool. We were out there just yesterday. The surface is now ready to install the equipment for the skate park, hopefully in the next couple of 3 weeks. That will be ready. And also there's money to, along with Glenn Pruitt in the Calmar Drive area to get youth activities there. 50 years ago, we did a comprehensive land use study through our planning organization. Robert Smith wasn't there then, but it's been that long since we've done this. This is a multi-year project. It's about $500,000 to be able to do this, but we're funding the first half of that project in this year and the other half in next year. And with completion of that project, we will have a land use plan. We can call it 2050, if you will, which will last us into the future. We also have $150,000 line item in our budget for consultant evaluation of cost and legal ramifications for starting a city school system. We all have been disappointed over the last years about what happens. We've got pockets of excellence in our system, but overall we've got too many failing schools. Our test scores are not keeping par, not growing at the state. We would have started this earlier, but for the state intervention. This gives us some opportunities, but we do need to start because at minimum it would be a 2-year process and maybe 3. But we, for the first time, have included in the proposal $150,000 to evaluate the cost and the legal ramification of starting a school system. Without going into a lot of detail, a county school system, which we really don't have, we got a separate, it's under the county, that's under certain statutes. Under other statutes, the city school system and some of the successful systems around our city school system. So we're going to take the first step in that regard. All of these are expense items. We are proposing a 1 percentage point increase in city lodging tax from 10 to 11. That will join 4 cents from the state, and then the county has a $2.20 it all kind of averages out to a 16.5, 17% rate, which is competitive to the Hunstells, the Birmingham, the Mobiles, and some of the other areas that we have to compete with. So that is the budget message tonight. Lots of details. Barry and his staff are certainly available, and at your pleasure, we'll have work sessions to go through with any detail that you want. This is, as I said, about a 2% increase in the overall funding levels and the expense levels, and it does contemplate having a minimum of $26 million of reserve. So that's my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
May I ask one question?
Yes.
Mayor, I'm always asked this question.
I
I know what you, the projected for the police officers. I don't know why, they never ask about the fire department. How many persons?
425.
The police officers?
I'm sorry. The police officers, our target would be 525.
515.
515,
Yeah.
and for fire, 425.
Yes, sir, but I'm
It's
talking
a
about.
target. It's a target.
But as of today?
Probably in police, we got 500, 501.
Okay.
Fire, we've got 400? I'm sorry? 405 today.
Okay, thank you.
And frankly, it's never been an issue of a budget, because what I have said to them is, you find them,
Yeah.
you recruit them, we'll pay for them. We, on average, will lose 50 officers. I'm talking on the police now. We'll, on average, lose 50 officers a year for a multitude of reasons, and we have to at least bring on 50, and certainly we'd like to bring on 75.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The Mayor, I assume that as in the past, we put the budget out in the fire stations around the city. We have,
It's going to be posted online. They said by
Online?
about 5:15 this afternoon, they'll have it posted on our webpage.
okay, so everybody can get to it. And then at the next council meeting, we'll have a public hearing on the budget. So anyone wants to comment that day or a question about it, they can. And then after that, the council will call a work session to review the budget. And we should be by the first meeting in September ready to vote on it. So that'll be our plan, okay? Thank you. Okay, we have two people who want to speak this afternoon on item number 8. Cedric Riley and George Sloan. Is Jerry here? Jerry Russell here? Yeah, Jerry. You can. I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk to. You need to talk to Mr. Russell. You would. Cedric and George Sloan, you here too? Both of you talk to Mr. Russell. That'll solve that issue now. Okay. All right. First item is to be carried over. Item number 2, Madam Clerk.
Mr. President, item 1, hearing on proposed ordinance rezoning parcel of land located at 414 Caroline Street from a T4R Smart Code District to a 240 Smart Code District.
Mr. Tyson.
Mr. President, the Planning Commission recommended the rezoning of this property for commercial development to include a gift shop, auditorium, conference rooms, and offices.
This is a public hearing. Anyone would like to speak against this item, please come forward. Seeing none, I declare the public hearing has been held. It's brought before the council. Need a motion, council.
Move to adopt.
Have a motion to adopt. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Ordinance is adopted.
Good. Next item.
Item 3, ordinance altering and enlarging the corporate limits of the city of Montgomery and incorporating into contiguous council district 7024 Epperson Drive, District 1.
Move to suspend the rules.
Have a motion to suspend rules. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Motion to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Ordinance is adopted. Item 4, resolution authorizing fiscal year 2017 action plan and authorizing Mayor Strange to make application for CDBG funds, home funds, and ESG funds.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir. This is the city's 2017 HUD action plan document that is before you. Basically, it's for the funding amounts for community development block grant in the amount of $1.5 million, HUD home $715,000, emergency shelter grant $336,000 for a grand total of $2,601,398, which is an increase of $194,092 compared to 2016 for all three programs.
Council, you have questions, Mr. Smith? Need a motion, sir?
Move to suspend the rules.
Have a motion to suspend rules. All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous.
Move to adopt.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Unanimous. Resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Item 5, application